Michigan makes a huge statement against USC, and the Vols, well, they are scary. It's college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The show brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And we are going to start with those Michigan Wolverines. Now, it wasn't pretty. In fact, sometimes it was downright ugly. And that's okay, because when you look at how this Michigan team is constructed, they just have to have some kind of alternative to Mullings and to Donovan Edwards, and it's Alex Orji on the ground. That's all they need. This is the Nick Marshall offense for Auburn when they went back to the national championship game. Ground heavy, multidimensional, and find 2 or 3 things that you do well. Just 2 or 3 things that you do well through the air, and things will be just fine. And that's exactly where Michigan is right now. That's a national championship caliber team, folks. I fully believe that's a national championship caliber team. Because think of it this way. You know your defense is next level. Hopefully Will Johnson's okay. But you know your defense is next level. That is a damn good USC team, a damn good USC offense. And they got punched in the mouth by Michigan. They got up. They got punched in the mouth again. They kept getting up, and they kept taking haymaker after haymaker after haymaker, and damn near won the football game. Until the very end, when old USC came back. If you guys have watched this show, you know exactly what I think about USC. I was extremely down on USC and specifically Lincoln Riley before the season started, because I thought it was a philosophical problem that he didn't even really care about fundamentals. And that's clearly not the case, except for one play, except for that 30-yard run on the game-winning drive. Old USC came back. The USC team that whiffs 4 times per play. That's what set Michigan up. That's all that happened. That's what set Michigan up. And it cost them the game. But the way Michigan uses Alex Orji is very much like Auburn using Nick Marshall. And they can build off of that, because there was a lot of hype around Alex Orji. We all know that. We were all surprised when Davis Warren was named starting quarterback. Why? Because everybody assumed it was Alex Orji's job. Everybody assumed that, hey, they're going to have this dynamic quarterback. They can build off the offense that J.J. McCarthy set, because while J.J. was athletic, Alex is a different breed. He has limitations in the passing game, and that's okay. It's okay that he has limitations in the passing game, because now you play Minnesota at home. You have the confidence. You know what the offense looks like, and you can search for those 1 or 2 things. You can search for those 1 or 2 things. So I wrote this on Outkick, and I think I got a lot of grief for it, and honestly, I was surprised. It's like, this Michigan team is a national championship caliber team in 2024. At this very second, are they? No. At this very second, this Michigan team is not capable of winning a national championship. But they found their magic potion. They beat a damn good USC team when their backs were up against the wall. That matters, especially when you're trying to figure your identity out. And yeah, the loss to Texas gives them a razor thin margin for error. We all know that in this day and age of the 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter all that much until you get a second loss, but you cleared your biggest hurdle, or at least biggest hurdle until the final weekend of the regular season. And you did it basically trying to figure out the passing game on the fly. That matters, folks. That matters a lot. If you have any comments, drop them in. I'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. But on the other side, there's USC. That was an impressive performance. And look, we just got done talking about how Michigan was sort of one-dimensional. They were not one-dimensional. They were multi-dimensional within the rushing attack. But that doesn't really matter to me. We know that USC's offense is going to be good. It wasn't good against Michigan because they have a national championship caliber team. But we know their offense is dangerous. If they're going to play lockdown defense, which they did for the majority of that game, that team is scary. That team is terrifying. Now, can they get to the Big Ten championship game? That is going to be difficult. But I tell you what, man, the way they played, that is a scary-ass team. So when those two teams walked off the field at Michigan Stadium, there was a reaction that I was surprised, disappointed with on X, and luckily that's not real life, because that would suck if X was real life. But there was this idea that both those teams that kind of suck. No, they don't. Are they where Georgia or Texas is right now? No, of course not. But if you're talking about a 12-team playoff, you're talking about teams that can figure out their identity early on and build from there. And it was one play. It was one play that differentiated these teams. And no, it wasn't the touchdown at the end of the game. It was that long run where USC missed about 3-4 tackles. And that's it. Otherwise, USC played great defense. Otherwise, Michigan figured out a way to make it work with a backup quarterback who clearly wasn't ready. Doesn't mean he won't be ready. He's a gamer. He made it happen. He made it happen. You put Davis Warren in that game, they don't even get 100 yards for the entire game. But they made it happen. And that was nice to see. I'm not the biggest Michigan fan, but watching them play Michigan football and stay with it, that to me signals that they know how to get this done, that they understand just how good this team. We will take a break. When we come back, we will talk about those Tennessee Volunteers, because what happened in Norman, people better pay attention to it. People better pay attention to it, because it's a big, big deal. You're watching College Football Smothered and Covered, and of course, we are powered by Locked On. And the show brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 8% or 5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard here is with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. That's Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robin Hood Gold, LLC. All right, and like I said, drop your questions in if you can, because the show's for you. The show's for you, the fan. And man, what a day it is for Tennessee fans. Now, this game is still going on. Full disclosure, this game is still going on. I'm going to chalk it up as a Tennessee win because with 118 left in the fourth quarter, with the review going on, I would be floored if Tennessee lets this one slip away. Holy crap, that Tennessee defensive line is absolutely insane. That defensive front is terrifying. Now, Oklahoma's is too, but 11 tackles for loss, 9 through 3 quarters. 9 tackles for loss through 3 quarters. I remember I was sitting at SEC Media Days. I had Josh Heupel one-on-one on this show. And he told me, and he looked me in the eye and said, "Hey, Barrett, we are one defensive lineman away from being a championship caliber 2 deep on the defensive line to have a championship caliber rotation." And apparently he didn't find one. He found approximately 45. That defense is, I would say, the best outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we talked about this on the show earlier this week when I made the pick Tennessee -7 over Oklahoma. I said, look, Nico Iamaleava good. They won that NC State game kind of in spite of him. They had a decent game, but nothing great. They won because of their defense. They won because of their defensive front. They've been winning consistently because of their defensive front. So this shouldn't have been a surprise. This is exactly what anybody who's watched Tennessee this year should expect. And you spin this forward. This Tennessee team, folks, name me a team outside of Texas. And we're going to put the Arch Manning stuff aside because you don't expect Quinn Ewers to be hurt, but whatever. Name me a team that's been more impressive. Ohio State? They don't have a signature win. They don't have a signature win over a team like Oklahoma on the road. They didn't get a talented quarterback pulled in the second quarter like Tennessee did with Jackson Arnold. Now, look, Hawkins has been great, or relatively speaking, he's been great. But this is next level, folks. This is next level. Even Nico didn't have a great game against Oklahoma. 13-21, $194 and a touchdown. -1 sack adjusted yards, or I'm sorry, with sack yardage included. It's okay. It's okay. We know what he can do, though. We saw on that touchdown, that laser over the middle, that he knows how to get this done, that he has the ability to find. That's Dante Thornton. That wasn't Squirrel White. That wasn't Brew McCoy. That was Dante Thornton. That's how many weapons they had. And Chris Fowler brought it up on the broadcast, and I think it's 100% accurate. This team is built like the one they had a couple of years ago with Hendon Hooker and Jalen White and all those guys. But they have a defense now. And it's funny because looking back at that conversation with Josh Heupel, I said John Neighbors from Locked On Arizona or Locked On Arkansas was sitting next to me on Radio Row. And I was talking to Heupel, and after he left, John Neighbors kind of looked at me and said, "That was weird." I was like, "Why? What's weird?" Like, Josh Heupel is, he's confident in his team, whatever. He goes, "He seems way more relaxed than I've ever seen him." And he was like, I didn't think about it in the moment, but he was. And at the time, I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe he's just, that's just how he's going to approach SEC Media Days because, now he's, sort of settled into the role at Tennessee. He's been there before. He understands how to make things work. But maybe he was just confident in his team. Maybe he knew exactly what to expect. The team's a national championship caliber team. Firmly believe that. Scary, folks. Scary. We will take a break. We will spin around the rest of the country. There's a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about in the world of college football. Because, again, like we say every single week, when you think it's a down week, that is when all hell breaks loose. There's a lot of interesting things that happened in the world of college football. We will discuss them next. It's College Football Smothered and Covered. And, of course, we are powered by Locked On. And the show brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors, you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up with peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered all across the board. With over 122 million parts and your number one ride or die, you'll always have exactly what you need with eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get that money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber. You ain't burning cash. All the parts you need, prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive. ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to United States customers. You know who we're also brought to you by? FanDuel. We are brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account. Who doesn't have one of those? And a current form of payment. You better have one of those as well. You can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so let's take a spin around the rest of the country. A lot of eyes were on Billy Napier against Mississippi State. Incidentally, Blake Shapen, the Mississippi State quarterback, out for the season with a shoulder injury. Sucks. Hate to hear that. He is going to try to get another year of eligibility. But all eyes were on Billy Napier, and I've said it all week. Said it for a couple weeks that the hay is in the barn. Billy Napier is not going to be the head coach at Florida. It's just a matter of figuring out exactly how to do it. And there's no blueprint for it. You have to figure out how to do a coaching search with a 12-team playoff and all those coaches on teams that could win a national championship. You have to do it with 30, 35 other teams in the mix in mid-November? How do you do it? There's no good way to do it. That's the biggest problem facing Scott Strickland, who is probably not going to get canned. I know Florida fans probably don't want to hear that, but I don't care that they blew Mississippi State out. Don't care at all. Doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. I'd be surprised if Billy Napier keeps his job beyond Monday. I mean, in fact, SiriusXM, Tom Luganbill and I are doing SiriusXM Sunday morning, 9 to noon on Channel 84. We might have to do a breaking news segment on Billy Napier. Would not surprise me at all. Because I don't really care. Nobody cares that they beat Mississippi State. So where do they go from here, if and when that does happen? Lane Kiffin ain't coming to Florida, folks. We will talk about potential candidates in the emergency broadcast when it does happen, and there will be emergency broadcast when it happens. But Lane Kiffin ain't coming, folks. Ole Miss is a better job than Florida right now, because when you're at Florida and you go through Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, and Billy Napier in 13 seasons, maybe it's a Florida problem. Maybe it's a systemic problem. That's the problem. That's where Florida has to recognize it ain't it. Elsewhere, we're not going to talk about Arch Manning. We're definitely not going to talk about Arch Manning on today's show. Man, Quinshon Judkins had himself a day. First segment, we talked about Michigan and USC in the Big Ten. Ohio State's a juggernaut, man. That team is utterly insane. They've got probably 3 running backs that could start, and one of them actually did start at another school. And I was wrong about Will Howard. And look, I know he doesn't really have to do an awful lot. That's the thing, is this team is so good that I think a liability, and yes, I still think that Will Howard is a liability. He doesn't have to do anything. 16 to 20 for 275 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Okay. Not a big deal. We're not talking about Colorado. I saw what happened. We're not talking about Colorado. This is a no Colorado zone on this show. Although we'll put it on the big TV. No, but right now, would you call me insane right now if I said that Tennessee deserves to be in the top 5, Ohio State deserves to be number 1, or Texas? Those 3. Put them in any order. Maybe we should talk about that. No, we're not going to. That's how good this Ohio State team is, man. Now, Penn State. I don't know how many people watched the Penn State game, because Kent State's terrible. I mean, they're terrible. That Penn State team is utterly insane. 40 first downs. They only gave up 6. They had 718 yards. Kent State had 67. 67 in a full game. They didn't even make it one length of the field. And I'm not talking about 100 yards. I'm talking about when you get a touchback and you start at the 25-yard line. They didn't even get that far. So I know James Franklin, the playoff is built for a guy like James Franklin, right? Where you're kind of on the fringe all the time. You're fringe top 10, top 12. You never seem to get it done. I was wrong. Drew Aller is a monster, and to Kent State, the opponent notwithstanding, he's been good all year. That team is dangerous, extremely dangerous. And then on the Plains, I'm sure everybody has seen Bo Wallace's tweet, former Ole Miss quarterback under Hugh Freeze, where he talks about doing everything he can to get on the field and sacrificing his body for Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze not necessarily backing him up and blaming his players when things go wrong and patting himself on the back when things go right. That's not a good look. It has nothing to do with what the decision will be on Auburn. Hugh Freeze isn't on the hot seat right now. Not right now. But 3-9, 4-8 changes a lot. It changes a lot. And if there are people on the Plains that are upset right now, and there are, talk to a lot of them, there's some side-eye going on a couple states to the west in the Dallas Metroplex. with Rhett Lashley. You ain't going to hire Gus back. You can hire Rhett Lashley back. Not saying Hugh's going to get fired, but this is looking like a disaster when you start having former players say the things that Bo Wallace did, where he continuously Freeze continuously throws players under the bus when things go wrong and takes all the credit when things go right. That can have a snowball effect. So interesting times out there on the plains. Very interesting times. As far as Arkansas goes, this doesn't do much. This doesn't do much for Sam Pittman. I heard that was an ugly-ass game. Just a terrible, terrible football game. Last thing before we hang things up. Man, Utah, you tried to give it away. You tried to give it away, but you got the job. Look, I'm so pissed off that Cam Rising did not play that game. Isaac Wilson was great. No, Isaac Wilson was okay. Can you imagine what Utah would be with a healthy Cam Rising? They would have run Oklahoma State out of Stillwater because 22-19 does not do that game justice. Utah controlled that game from the outset, period. If Cam Rising was in that game, that'd have been a 3-touchdown victory for Utah. And we'd all be talking about how great the Utes are. But we're not going to. Well, some people out there are not going to. We are on this show because that team, that Utah team, if Cam Rising is healthy, that is a national championship caliber team too. I firmly believe that now. If you can do what they did to Oklahoma State in Stillwater with the backup, taking the snaps, and reminder, the score doesn't do that game justice. You can control the line of scrimmage against a lot of teams, and you can do some damage with an elite quarterback who, man, I wish he would come back healthy. I really do. That's going to do it for this edition. Week 4 Instant Reaction Show. College football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On. Hey, for your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does a great job, so check that out. We will be back on Monday unless there is an emergency podcast with the dismissal of an SEC coach. So we might be back on Sunday. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But until next time, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.